The gold lion Shiki can fly with his amazing Delphoid ability. He can make everything float except of course living creatures, but of course himself he can make float. And also he can control minerals, water, like we've seen his islands. We've seen him do it in the movie. What am I just saying? I'm just explaining what we've seen the character do in the movie. But if you guys are seeing the title, you guys know I am not the biggest fan of the movie. I like the movie. I really enjoyed it. I think it's actually one of the better One Piece movies. But with the controversy the movie started is why I'm speaking up. And with the recent stuff in the One Piece manga, Shiki is becoming more and more pivotal as a character. Like, this guy in his prime was a two-sword style user. Like, he was also a two-sword style user while also having a very overpowered Delphoid ability. He kind of reminds me of if you added Kozuki Oden and Fujitora and did a fusion like Dragon Ball Z and combined them, you would get, of course, Oda showing this amazing character. But I have to admit, like in the last chapter we saw him, he was guns a-blazing on that panel. He was going in with the white Big Mom, Kaido, Whitebeard. This is a bunch of legendary rocks pirates. And of course it's crazy because instead of Big Mom being right next to Whitebeard in this panel, it's actually Shiki. So they're kind of giving portrayal of Shiki being the third guy in the Rocks Pirates, not Big Mom, which we all thought. We all thought Big Mom was the third strongest, but the last chapter kind of switched up and made Shiki above Big Mom. Now, I'm not saying there's evidence proof that Shiki was stronger than Big Mom. I'm just saying that Shiki is getting more hype lately. And I do gotta say this, they're getting the Zoro Sanji vibes of Whitebeard and Shiki also having that banter, heavy Zoro and Sanji vibe. The Rocks crew is getting so fun seeing this. And Shiki's officially back, but Oda has played him before, of course, like of Luffy versus Shiki, like pre-time skip Luffy beating a Shiki that went up against Roger. Yeah, Roger versus Shiki was a fight that happened in his prime, and you have to admit the fight didn't even end with Shiki losing. It ended with the draw as well. So, and then now the man looks like a damn rooster and has that infamous war with Roger. And I'm thinking there could be even evidence for him and Kaido going at it, but I'm like, because you think about it, Kaido put his top 5 pirates and he didn't put Shiki up there. Now I'm saying Shiki was a legendary pirate from back in the day, and he put Whitebeard, Roger, Rocks, and Kozuki Oden, but he never put Shiki. Now you could say Shiki never fought Kaido, but I think there's more to that, and I'll explain that later. Before I do that, I want to show you guys a hidden chapter that pretty much was main character Shiki. Yeah, Shiki was a main character of a One Piece chapter, and it's probably one of the greatest chapters in the One Piece story, but it doesn't get the attention it deserves. Of course, the chapter starts off with the Gold, the Lion, and Roger making impact, and Garp is very excited because his boy Roger is going at it, and Garp definitely always wants to fight Roger. We saw in the last chapter. So chapter 0 is the exact same thing, and he tries to jump on Suru's ship and ignores Kong. Of course, Kong wants to make him an admiral. This was the beginning of the Shiki main character arc. Then of course we have Sengoku, and Sengoku tells Garp, actually, Shiki is my business. This is an admiral telling Garp to step down. So now we got confirmation that an admiral was going toe to toe with Shiki. You got to give Shiki the respect he deserves, and not just any admiral, an admiral that will later become a fleet admiral. That is a lot of respect to the character Shiki, and I think it really makes you look at his character differently. And you know Shiki is a badass if Buggy, a Roger pirate, is telling Roger, chill, please don't fight this guy, listen to what he says for now. Buggy told his captain and Buggy has seen Goldie Roger do some of the most greatest things in the One Piece story, and he's still telling Roger to back down. That just shows you that Shiki is not just any regular pirate, he's still a top tier, and in that situation he had the advantage. So then we see a situation of Shiki and prime Goldie Roger having dialogue, and this is after the God Valley incident. Shiki tells Roger, stop bringing up the past. And I'm assuming he's talking about God Valley because we know they were both on that island. But they could have had a 1v1 quarrel before that too as well. Because of course he just says we were young, and that's why I think it could be a different situation. And then of course Shiki says, let's combine your world destroying weapon that you know where it is, he knows whereabouts of it, and my force, and pretty much take over the world. And he's been planning for months, over months of plans of staking calculations. And he says, we can rule this world. Come be my right-hand man. Like, that is insane, This reminds me of moments of, like, Doflamingo and Crocodile, and Doflamingo wanted Crocodile to be his right-hand man. We've seen this in the story countless times. Like Big Mom and Kaido just recently teamed up in Wano, yo. Team up from top tiers is not a surprise. And Roger tells Shiki, I ain't interested. After that great proposal, he says, I ain't interested in ruling. What's the point? I'm being a pirate. Pirates do what they want in their own way, and it doesn't matter how much times you pressure me. Damn, that is how you reject a man like Shiki. And we've seen in the chapter, Shiki had a dozen ships surrounding Goldie Roger, and it looked bad for him. It looked bad for the future Pirate King, and he still declined. And she says, I take that to mean you want me to kill you, right? So Shiki starts now trying to, how do I say this, press Roger, and Roger says, nah, it means I'm gonna crush all of you guys. So Roger he's just badass. You can't press a guy who's not scared, and Roger has no fear. It's literally a dominant commander versus a man with no fear. You're gonna get craziness, and that's what happened with Shiki and Roger going at it. And you have to understand, Shiki's known for commanding a great pirate fleet. That's what he was known for back in the days. And this is like characters like Big Mom, Kaido, Whitebeard. No, Shiki was known for having the great pirate fleet, so you gotta give respect to his infamy there. And of course, he's going up against the future Pirate King, and they would fight in a war called the Edd War. Yes, the Battle of Edd War. And Roger's ship was saved. That's what they said. Roger's ship was saved by a sudden blast of foul weather, sinking half of Shiki's fleet. And Shiki also had a big accident, and the battle was considered a draw because they both just left after all that situation happened. So I think Oda is definitely going to show us Roger versus Shiki, the Edd War, in full detail. He definitely showed us a teaser, but he knows that Roger flashback, he has to have Roger fight monsters. We know that we already seen Whitebeard versus Roger in the Oda flashback. I think Oda wants to show us Whitebeard versus Roger fully, Shiki versus Roger fully, when it's Goldie Roger being the main character. And then of course we found out that Shiki got a ship wheel stuck in his head. And I'm gonna admit, guys, Shiki for a top tier having a wheel stuck in his head, I just did not understand, especially after all the hockey things and the ability things we've known. A simple ship wheel stuck in his head. Now I'm thinking the only way this could happen is if Roger hit him so badly with a divine departure, such a mean attack that caused the accident. I'm not saying that Roger put the wheel in his head, but I'm thinking Roger had to cause the accident, because him randomly like falling on a ship's wheel and his head gets stuck, like that would be crazy. Now Shiki does say the only reason, like, they're pretty much surprised that he's alive because he has a wheel in his head, and he says, well, they don't call me the lion for nothing, yo. So Shiki's saying that my toughness is really out there. So I'm thinking the fact that Shiki said that as well, it had to be a force of Roger's Conqueror's Haki coding that caused this. That's not all I can think of, guys. Then of course Roger is captured, and Shiki cannot handle it. Shiki, like 2 years later, Roger gets captured. He became the Pirate King, and he gets captured, and Shiki just cannot handle it. And he tells his crew, get the hell out of here. You fools know what that man is capable of. Obviously referencing to his legendary moments in Edd War and God Valley, and fighting Whitebeard, and fighting like Big Mom, and like just having amazing moments in, of course, their era. And they probably had 1v1 battles themselves. So Shiki just says, like, you guys know what he's capable of. There's no way he got captured, and Shiki knows really well. Because if you guys don't forget, if you guys remember, Rayleigh pretty much confirmed what Shiki said. Rayleigh said Roger didn't get captured. He turned himself in because he had a sickness. Like, Rayleigh confirmed what Shiki knew. So you gotta understand, Shiki is not a dumb individual. Then of course Shiki did one of the most legendary things in the entire One Piece story. One Piece has over 1,000 chapters. We're about to reach 1,100, and Shiki did the most legendary thing. He pulled up solo to Marineford War just because he had to, and he said Roger earned my respect. So what if he was the king of pirates? That's what he said. If we joined forces, we could have conquered the entire world. You know, it's crazy because that's one of the first times where conquering the world and being the king of pirates was compared, because we know that Rox D. Zebek, Shiki's former captain, wanted to conquer the world and be king of the world. We know Roger didn't want to do that. He wanted to become king of the pirates. We know Luffy wants to become king of the pirates. We know that, of course, I think Kaido wanted to conquer the world, and we know that Imu actually does conquer the world. So there's a lot of comparisons there when it comes to the current story, and Shiki saying that if we joined together, we could have conquered the world. Definitely probably got the formula from Rox, and then of course his former crew members, Big Mom and Kaido, actually did the deed of joining together. And Shiki says it best, yo, we didn't team up, but we still lived through the same era. And that's why let Roger on, and at least let me be the one to kill him, yo. So Shiki is all about respect, all about reputation, all about hype. And I gotta admit, yo, he looks like he's about honor as well. And then the big dogs come out of nowhere because Shiki's just destroying Marines. So finally, a top tier Marine comes, and that's Admiral Sengoku. And he tells Shiki right off the get-go, Roger is the king of pirates. He beats you because you are a pirate. And Roger quit while he was ahead. And then Garp comes out of nowhere, the strongest Marine of all time, of course, Vice Admiral Garp. He says, Roger's death will break the spirits of pirates everywhere. It's kind of ironic because it actually pretty much put a fire into the spirits of pirates everywhere. And then, of course, Shiki says, you're going to kill Roger in lockdown, like the weakest sea, the East Blue. Like, what the hell? This is a final insult to Roger. Then Garp replies, the East Blue is a symbol of peace. Now, the infamous battle of Garp versus Sengoku, of all Shiki's battles, I think this one probably is my favorite because he's going up against two top tier Marines that we all respect, a mythical zone user and a Conqueror's Haki coding man in Garp, like in their primes. He's fighting Garp, who went up against Roger in his prime. We know Sengoku probably went up against Whitebeard in his prime, and he's fighting these characters by himself in a 1v2. How can I not respect Shiki after this? And he destroyed half a Marine Ford, guys. Like, he by himself destroyed half a Marine force. Well, not really by himself because he's battling Garp and Sengoku, but still. And it wasn't a low diff. If you can fight two of the top tier Marines and not get low diff, like we saw Jack, he fought Fujitora, old Sengoku, and old Tsuru. And it looked like Jack got low dipped in that battle, and he's a young commander. But Shiki is pretty much, if you thought about it, Shiki is like a Yonko level character in my personal opinion. So it makes sense that he can do this and not get low dipped. Now he did lose, but still, I gotta give respect where respect is due to the gold line Shiki. Then of course the next time we see the character Shiki, he's in his cell. And he's just sad, yo, because all these pirates are so excited that Roger died, the new great pirate era, the One Piece treasure, and he's just thinking, why did you have to die, Roger? It's such a waste that these treasure-hungry mongrels are going after it. They're just going to get in the way, and pretty much says, pirate rule the seas, and you'll see soon enough. So pretty much Shiki is not, it looks like he's not a fan of this new era. He's pretty much a fan of him being the top dog, him being the guy, and he's very sad that Roger died because Roger was the guy. Then of course we see Shiki do one of the most savage things, the thing that Zoro wanted to do this in Little Garden, so we know Zoro had it in him to do it, but Shiki actually did it when he was locked up in Impel Down. Now of course it took 2 years of resolve for him to actually go through it, but we know Shiki is a man of patience, and he cuts both his feet and he starts looking for his swords. He asks, where's my swords? Oto and of course Kogorashi, his two legendary swords. So I thought it was pretty cool that he values his swords, and they're not just any weapon. Yeah, he's an overpowered double user, but he still has named swords. You gotta get respect Shiki for that. Shiki then says, keep my feet. That's how you insult a prisoner. He tells him, keep my feet. It's been a long 2 years. And then he uses his swords as feet. Like, how much more gangster can Shiki get as a character, yo? Like, honestly, I think Oda really is a big fan of Shiki from what I'm seeing in this chapter 0. Then, of course, we see Garp reaction to, of course, Shiki being the first man to escape Impel Down. And Garp gives compliments to Shiki, says he's very thorough. He's probably going to do nothing, of course. But right now, like, of course, he says it ain't going to cause, he's not going to cause trouble, but right away, but he's planning something big. So Garp knows Shiki is not just an idiot who'll just go crazy and get locked up again. No, Shiki is very, how to say this, I would say meticulous. Then of course we see a reaction of Sanji's, pretty much Sanji's pops if you think about it, not Judge Vince, I'm talking about Red Leg Zeph, and he says the gold lion is famous for flying through the air. So that's of course reference to his Delver ability. Shiki just flies while he's using his swords and his Delver in combination. And yeah, people could say, yo, the Shiki we saw in the movie wasn't prime because he had lost his feet. Like, that's still gonna affect Shiki in battle. He's gonna be better with his hands and his feet, of course. Like we saw what happened when Shanks lost his arm. Miyagi totally disrespected him there. So yeah, I see there's culprit there, but at the end of the day, yo, Shiki still should be a monster even if he's lost his feet, guys. And then of course we see Rayleigh's reaction. It's cool how Oda put Rayleigh's reaction to Shiki. It's just showing how much legendary people respect Shiki as a character. And Rayleigh says it, yo, there you are, Shiki. That's what he says. There you are. And what do you think you're up to now? So even Rayleigh knows that Shiki's always up to something. He always has a plan. He always has something going on. He's always thinking of the future, if you think about it, deep into the future when it comes to his plans. Like Shiki probably has the, from what I've known from him, of course he's not going to be this, but he has the how do I say this, reputation of being a legendary villain, not just in One Piece but in anime. But of course I think Oda wants Shiki to be a villain to Roger and not Luffy. And then of course we see Shiki reunite with Whitebeard, and he asks him, how's the sea without Roger? It seems like we all live in your era, Whitebeard. So he's the fact that he comes out of prison 2 years later and he goes to Whitebeard and he says, yo, how's the sea without Roger, the Pirate King? And now it looks like we all live under your era, because of course he's saying that Whitebeard is a top dog, his former Rock's crew member. But you have to understand, we saw his energy that in the last chapter was more so, I ain't listen to you, Whitebeard, who made you captain, kind of like a rivalry. So then of course Whitebeard knows that Shiki's trolling, so he says, yo, if you came here to troll, I'll save us both the time, and we're gonna start going at it right now. I'll throw you overboard. So we see that Whitebeard is like not having any of Shiki's trolling, and then Shiki says, yo, it's glad to see you're as irritable and hostile as ever. They're former Rock's crew members. They look like they are the Zoro Sanji of the Rock's crew, if I'm being honest. And if you think about it, Doflamingo did say it. Whitebeard stood in front of Roger's throne for 20 years, yo, for 2 decades, yo. So Whitebeard was the guy, like, after Roger died. Yes, Big Mom was close to Whitebeard. Yes, Kaido and Shanks emerged later on, but at the end of the day, yo, Whitebeard was still the guy right after Roger. It was Whitebeard's era, if you think about it. And then, of course, Shiki tells Whitebeard, his former crew member, that I'm thinking of going quiet until I show this weak era the true terror of a pirate. Yes, the terror of a true pirate that inspires. In which Whitebeard replies, oh, you're up to something again, huh? So Shiki's always up to something. That's one character trait we're seeing in this chapter, and it looked like they were foreshadowing Shiki come back in the canon story, but obviously it was built up for the movie. We don't know what truly happened to Shiki, of course, after he escaped Impel Down. Now, of course, we did see Shiki in a cover story in the One Piece story, chilling with Crocus. Now, it could be Scarpa Gabon. I will say this, it could be Scarpa Gabon, but it looks to be Shiki because Shiki has a kind of like Shogun like style, and we know that he's wearing a Wano hat. So there's that, of course. And then of course the chapter 0 ends with the Sarong World movie plot being put into place. 20 years into the future, his plan will start, and of course we see all those islands floating and there's animals and Dr. Indigo, and we all watched the movie, guys. It was one of the better movies, but kind of logically this never happened, guys, and this is why I say it's a very controversial thing. And this is why you guys see the title and the thumbnail. I'm not the biggest fan of Strong World because Oda hasn't really clarified what's true and what's not. And we know he's pretty much letting us assume that Shiki losing to Luffy is not canon. We know it's 100% is not canon. So there's that. Because you have to understand, Luffy is in pre-time skip, no haki, cannot be the top tier that was going against Prime Roger. It just doesn't make sense. Like, and now we know Conqueror's Haki coding, Advanced Armor Haki, Future Sight, all these power-ups, Awakening that Shiki could have had. It just makes it even more wild that Luffy pre-time skip won. Yes, I saw that L Thor attack where he puts his foot in the clouds and the lightning and everything looks sick and whatnot, but still, I'm not giving Luffy that, yo. I will at least give post-time skip Luffy, like Dressrosa, Hokage Island, a chance. But pre-time skip? Now Oda, come on, yo. Now Oda did admit, he said he wanted Shiki to be mentioned when Whitebeard and Shanks met, but didn't want to confuse the reader. So Oda did have some big things planned for Shiki, and if you understand that meeting, you also know that Whitebeard said, my scar aches when I look at your face, Shanks. We all know he's referencing not Roger, but actually Figureland Garling. So Oda definitely wanted to bring up God Valley stuff during the Whitebeard Shanks meeting, but he thought it was too soon. That's what I'm guessing. And we do know in the main canon story, Sengoku does mention, like, when Luffy's trying to, of course, escape Impel Down, he's attempted to escape Impel Down, which he, of course, did succeed. Sengoku says 20 years ago, the Gold Lion escaped Impel Down when he's talking to Garb. So definitely, Oda does have Shiki hype in the One Piece canon story. It's just that now we're finally seeing him. Like, if you think about it, this is the first time we actually seen Shiki in the story in canon, not talking about chapter 0. Even if you think about it, when Son Goku was talking about the Rocks Pirates, he mentioned the Yonko, of course, which he should. Yo, they've been in the forefront of the One Piece fans for so long. Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, and their bounties are the 3 highest bounties when they are alive pre-time skip. Yo, they had the 3 highest bounties. Of course, we still haven't seen Shiki's bounty, but I'm saying the ones we know. And then, of course, he leads off with the Gold Lion and other characters like Captain John, who we know Captain John is dead. So could he be referencing that gold line is probably dead? I think it's more so that he's inactive and hasn't done anything. Like, if you think about it, he mentions Wang Zhi, and Wang Zhi is inactive after losing to Blackbeard on Pirate Island Beehive. So could this be a reference to Kaido maybe killing Shiki? Let me explain. We know during the Oden flashback, they talk about the remnants of the Rock's crew getting new comrades in infamy, and we see a silhouette of Big Mom, Whitebeard, Kaido, and also Shiki. Shiki is also put in here. He gets more forefront in the Oden flashback. We also see Korozumi, of course, the relative to Orochi, transform into a young Shiki, and this is an Oden flashback. So ever since Rocks gets revealed, it looked like Oda told the fans, I'm not gonna hype up Shiki until Rocks gets revealed, God Valley, which he probably wanted to do when Whitebeard and Shanks met, but he's now that he did it before Oden's flashback, he's starting to trickle down Shiki as a major character. And she mentions the incident of God Valley and how Kaido is now goated 10 years later, the pretty much definition of brutality, and also how Kaido replies saying the former Rocks crew, it revolves around them. This is gonna happen, yo. He's pretty much saying that Big Mom, Whitebeard, Shiki, himself, this is what's going to be going on. It revolves around them now when it comes to what's going to go down after God Valley. And I always thought it was interesting how Kaido cried tears when Big Mom died, guys. He cried tears, and he thought about how Big Mom spoke to him and said, oh, don't trust Rocks. Like, Kaido and Big Mom relationship after teaming up Wano, she loses right after, and of course he loses right after, but I'm saying his reaction to Kid and Law winning was tears. And of course, when Whitebeard was about to go up against the Marines, Kaido was going to intercept and fight Whitebeard himself. That says a lot right there. It's like he really wanted to beat Whitebeard, but he never had the opportunity, and that was his last, like, go ahead, like, let me try to beat Whitebeard. He's old, he's sick, he's going to save Ace. Of course, you have to understand too, he committed suicide in his introduction, falling off a sky island. He tried to attempt to commit suicide, and he mentions Whitebeard there. So we know that Kaido likes to mention his former crewmates. Me personally, I think Oda, the only way you can redeem what you did to the Gold Lion Shiki by letting him lose to a pre-time skip Luffy is having a moment in the manga, in the canon story, of him actually fighting the strongest creature alive, a major fight between Kaido, and maybe that's how Kaido becomes a Yonko and the highest current bounty post time skip before Luffy beat him. That would be kind of cool. But I think, yes, I'm building up the Kaido Shiki battle. I think what would even be better is if Kaido and Shiki never fought. Kaido respected Shiki, but he never fought him, and that's why he wasn't in his top 5. And if he put a situation of Shanks being the one, Prime Shanks being the one to actually defeat Shiki and his plans, if Shanks did it with Divine Departure, a Roger named attack, and they talk about Roger in their battle, and there's dialogue and whatnot, and God Valley and Figureland Garlic. If Shanks became a Yonko, we know he became a Yonko 6 years ago. If the way he became a Yonko was defeating Shiki, the same way that Blackbeard took out Wang Zhi in the Rocky Port incident to take over Pirate Island Beehive, I think that could even be better for Shiki, because I think Shanks is the strongest character in One Piece right now.